What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be working on the CRX again. We're going to do a heater box, blower motor, a little bit of the wiring on the inside of the cab, and then probably about it, but we'll see where we get. One of these things with these cars in particularly, if you put a more aggressive clutch in it, these are cable clutch, this is the cable, this is what engage, the clutch pedal, and then here's the bracket that holds the cable, and then the stopper so you don't over pull it and whatnot. But even with the stock clutch, sometimes these break, and then with aftermarket clutches or an engine swap per se, they tend to get more stress. The spot welds tend to break here, and then there's a couple over here, but they'll tend to crack, along the top of these welds, and then bends the bracket backwards. And then people think their clutch cable is stretched or their clutch is bad, but usually, wouldn't say in every scenario, but these do oftenly snap if you're driving the car hard, or like I said before, a stiffer clutch. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a reinforcement plate for this front side here, and then I'll come through and do some more stitch welding to gusset that up. So I made a template to put here. It's right here. I just took a piece of cardboard, stuck it up against there, and that's where I'm going to cut out. When I cut this out, as you can see, I'm making it a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to use this flat stock. I believe it is 1/8 inch. It'll give me almost the perfect cut. This is probably overkill. You could go smaller, but this is what I have laying around, so I'm going to use it. Got my template set up on the piece of flat stock, so you'll see what I'll be cutting out. Not a whole lot, but I'm going to go ahead and get this cut, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Got the mark traced out in Sharpie. Got the piece cut out. It's just a rough cut. I'll smooth it out, make whatever adjustments I need here in just a moment. Got the bracket cut as I needed, gave it a little bend, so now I'm going to go ahead and clean off both surfaces and weld it up. Just getting everything tacked in place, and then go ahead and start doing the major welding. Got the bracket welded up. Not too proud of these welds here. I forgot to turn on the oxygen, and I didn't clean the surface good enough. So trying to fill that in just did not go as planned. The rest of them look alright. So I'm not a professional welder, but it's gonna hold. Welded a bunch of spots. Normally I wouldn't leave it like this, but it's under the dash of the car, so I will be probably the only one, well, and you guys, but I mean, it is what it is, and I'm just gonna roll with it. With some black paint stuff, you won't even notice. Got the clutch pedal assembly back in. There is 4 bolts that bolt it to the brake master cylinder, and then there's 1 bolt. That's kind of hard to see. Basically, it bolts it up right there, and then there's a pin that goes in between the brake booster to actually give the pedal the braking power. Which it's kind of dark. It's under there. You can kind of see it right there. There's the end of it. But got that in. Bled the brakes fluid today. There's quite a bit of gunk in the old system. Now the reservoir's nice, clear. It's got really good brake pressure. So this should help this car stop pretty well with the upgraded brakes. So got the chassis ground on and off from the engine. The motor, it's made out of 0 gauge amp wire. Wrapped it in I can't think of it right now. Heat shrink, and then I put the plastic loom and wrapped it up in tape so it's nice and protected. So right now I'm going to start working on some of the interior wiring. First thing I'm going to be wiring up is the coil power, which with this particular harness, this is the factory power and ground for the ignition coil. And then on the dry wire harness, here's the here's the 2 wires that now run the distributor, that'll run the coil and the distributor now. So what I'm gonna do is I bought some weather tight connectors. That's what I'm gonna do. Anything that needs to be spliced together so we can pull this, if we ever need to pull the harness out of the car, it can be pulled out, and it's also, you know, watertight in case something happens. But it's more for the convenience of if I ever have to pull the harness back out of the car, I'm not cutting, because I hate doing that. So I'm going to do this nice and neat as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and I'll show you guys when I'm finished. I'll go ahead and get this end dealt with first. Pre-cut my shrink wrap. Doesn't have to be perfect, but go ahead and slide that on over here. So the black is ground and the blue is power on this particular setup. Then just go ground, and then the blue will go to the red. Pretty self-explanatory there. What I like to do when soldering is slightly spread apart the wires, and then twist them together just like that, and then bring in the solder and the soldering gun, which I have right here. Now I have a nice solid connection there, nothing coming apart. Do the same over here. Good connection there. And by the way, this isn't a very fancy soldering iron. I got it off Amazon or eBay. It was like 25 bucks. It's in a kit, but it's got a variable setting of heat ranges, and it came with a soldering sucker and a few other things. So this is the second time I've used it. So far it's been pretty good. The tip hasn't worn away yet, so far I'm pretty happy with it. But got my 2 connections made here, nice and solid, and then I will heat this up and with the heat gun. Now I have a good solid connection and it's protected. Got the other side hooked up, soldered together, so now we have a good solid connection for that, and it's weather tight. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. Yeah, now we have a nice tight connection. I tend to leave my stuff a little loose because you never know where it's gonna have to be ratted to or whatnot, and I can always loop it up and tuck it out of the way, but I prefer to leave a little extra just because you never know. Got the wiring all finished up for the most part on the inside. This is just some extra stuff for launch control and so forth, but ran it up and above like it would be factory, zip tied it. Comes out right up over here, and then I'll disperse where it needs to go from there. But next, I'm gonna go ahead and get the heater box and stuff back in, and we'll start getting the interior together. So I'm gonna be redoing the foam on the heater box here. As you can see, it's old, crusty, worn out, smushed down. So I'm just gonna use some 3/8 window trim, which is what I use on my car, and it actually seals up quite well and lasts a little bit longer. But I'll go ahead and get started on getting this all taken off. So now I got all this cleaned off. So now I'm going to go ahead and start putting the gasket on. This stuff isn't terribly flexible, so I might have a few sharp edges, but it's a lot better than what was on there. I'm going to cut this a little long, and then I can go back and trim as I need. Go ahead and pull the stuff off. This is just to help it so when it wraps around the loom it doesn't stick to itself. Do a little bit of trimming over here. Now we have a really nice and well sealed off area again on this part. Doing the same thing again with over here, just leaving a little extra. One of the things I like to, I wouldn't say, but is pretty accurate is a dull razor blade is a dangerous razor blade. Because if it's dull, you're trying harder to cut, it slips, potentially cut yourself. So that's why I always keep fresh razor blades around, because I have diced myself a time or two. So now I have that sealed up and that sealed up. Everything will be a nice tight seal now, so we won't have any problems there with letting heat out and stuff, because that does tend to happen with these cars over time. As you saw the old weather stripping gasket, it tends to break down, and it's most noticeable when this goes bad is with the defrost. It's not nearly as strong when the gaskets start failing or deteriorating away. So one thing I've never noticed on the CRXs is that most cars, for the defrost, they have its own tubes that typically run up through here and stuff, but actually on these CRXs, the defrost is actually right there, and then the scoop is feed them there. So I didn't know that, but that was something cool, new to learn. Now I've got the heater box mounted in. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get the blower motor and the middle section put in. Got the blower box in, and then I put some new foam on the top to where it comes in from the fresh air vent, as you can kind of see there. I know I made that. I got it out the AC box, but I'm not sure if I'm in love with that idea. So I'm gonna go check in my shed and see if I got an extra AC piece, or the AC delete piece. So this is the end of the video. Got the heater box and stuff done. So tomorrow, try to work on some more stuff on the inside, see if I can find the heater box or the AC delete. But if you got any questions or comments, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys shortly.